Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare. I didn't realize that this Shastra class was so huge. I expected 8 persons or so. Since we're going through Nectar devotion, why don't we begin by chanting one of the 6 prayers, Shri Shri Sad Goswami Ashtaka. I think you'll find it. It should be in the beginning of your book. Yes. This page right here. You found it? Okay. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam hitakarano tribhuvane manyo sharanya karo Lokanam hitakarano tribhuvane manyo sharan yakaro Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raguyago Shri Jiva Gopalago Vande Rupa Sanatano Raguyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha Radhe. Jai Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha Radhe. Jai Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha Radhe. Go Premanandi. So you are reading from the second chapter of Nectar Devotion. Eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The first question that may come to your mind upon approaching this chapter, it's first stages of devotion or eligibility to candidate? Which? Okay, first stages of devotion is, why do there have to be stages? Why can't you just be whatever you want to be for Krishna? But you see, you are sentient beings. You are conscious entities. And there are different degrees of intensity of consciousness in terms of purity and real love. Bhakti is all about focusing all your attention upon Krishna. And there are different levels, there are different degrees of that. We shouldn't forget that Krishna is a person. Not an ordinary person, of course. He's Purushottama, the best of all persons. Because Krishna is a person, and we are parts of Krishna, we're also persons with personhood. And that means there are different intensities of relationships. You can even see that amongst ordinary human dealings. Some persons you have a very official relationship with. Some persons a superficial relationship. And some persons a very deep and intense relationship. Krishna is the Supreme Person, and therefore there are different stages and different levels in our reviving our love for Him. And this reviving is a very important aspect of bhakti. And we'll be discussing a lot about that. But first, the necessity of stages. It's just like when you meet someone. You don't immediately get up in their face and say, I'm so-and-so, and who are you, and what do you do, and tell me all about your personal life. Even in Australia, amongst Australians, known to be very direct, as Ramai Swami told me when I first came here 26 years ago. For Australians, what's in the mind comes out on the tongue. India's like that also, right? No, what's in the mind never comes out on the tongue. So normally, when you first meet someone, you go about gradually establishing a relationship. And that relationship, if it's meant to be, progresses through various levels of intensity. So why not go through this with Krishna? Any dignified person doesn't immediately explain all about their personal intimacies to a stranger. And Krishna is the most dignified person. Through devotional service, you win Krishna's confidence. This is personalism. It's not that Krishna is trying to torture you. He's giving you the process of devotional service and giving you an opportunity for your love to develop. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. I don't reveal myself to everyone. I don't expose myself to everyone. None of the gentlemen and ladies here would do like that. You're very careful how you reveal yourself and to whom. Krishna has his Yogamaya potency, which prevents unqualified persons from approaching him. You go to any wealthy building of flats or residential complex, there'll be a gate, there'll be someone at the reception desk making sure that unauthorized persons don't enter the building. Of course, in India, they have the chowkidar, who's generally asleep most of the time. But still, the idea is there that persons can only get access if they are qualified, if they're supposed to enter within that domain. So Krishna is like that. So this chapter is describing how you get your foot in the door, so to speak. So therefore, we are discussing how we need to accept the necessity for stages, because nectar devotion, to a great extent, is about the various stages of developing bhakti. Our main topic today is not so much the stages. What I really want to discuss is a fundamental principle behind Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar Devotion, presented by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You'll find this essential principle enunciated in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Saju Kabunoy Shravanade Shuddha Chitte Koraye Udor. Pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of all living entities, and it can be revived by the authorized process of hearing and chanting. So this is very important. It means that bhakti, rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord, is not something artificial, something manufactured. It is the real you. Amongst contemporary persons, the younger generation especially, they want to feel that they're authentic, that they're acting according to who they are, whatever that is. Mahaprabhu is explaining that the real you is the servant of Krishna. And your capacity, your propensity to serve Krishna is eternally there. Just as you exist eternally. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Najayate mriyate va kadachan. For the soul there's no birth, there's no death. Having once been, the soul never ceases to be. It is not slain when the body is slain. So you have an eternal identity, but that means you also have an eternal function or eternal propensity, and that is to lovingly serve Krishna. But we've forgotten it. It's there, but We're neglecting it. We're ignorant of it. So Mahaprabhu is very careful to explain to you that bhakti is not something artificially added from outside. You are Krishna's eternal servants. And through the authorized process of devotional service, which Nectar Devotion will reveal, you revive what's already there, what's hidden, what's dormant. This is a very important point. Sometimes, as you've read in this chapter, misleading so-called spiritual personalities mislead people by saying, I will, by my touch, my tap of my hand on your head, or when you sign the check and hand it to me, then you'll get the Shakti. But this chapter is explaining that you already have pure love of Krishna within you, but it has to be revived. We've forgotten about it. So it's not a question of someone creating it in you or touching you on your head and something that you didn't have is now yours. Dormant means it's there, but we're ignorant of it. We don't see it. One verse in Srimad Bhagavatam describes how the conditioned living entity, in illusion, is like a deer that neglects water right at its feet, because the water right at its feet is a little obscured by clumps of grass and bushes. And instead, the deer races out into the desert searching for water. So that water right at the deer's feet, hidden by grass and bushes, that is our propensity for loving devotional service. That's the real self. But neglecting that, because we don't see it when we're immersed in material life, neglecting that, we race out into the desert of material existence. And we're trying to love so many things, trying to lovingly serve so many persons, so many things. You can see, if you analyze your daily and weekly, monthly, yearly existence, you can't live without trying to lovingly serve something or someone. Persons generally want families so they can lovingly serve the family members. At the workplace, the employers, they're demanding loving service, complete focus. You can't live without pouring of yourself into something. So the whole purpose of Nectar Devotion is to revive your tendency, your propensity for pouring your core being into Krishna's service. This bhakti is a universal principle, but it's most thoroughly explained by far in Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. No one compares to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan in their ability to explain and enunciate upon the propensity to lovingly, devotionally serve. Just like if anyone's from a Christian background, after all, you may be from India, but you're in a country that used to be a Christian country. In the Bible, Jesus is said to have said, when asked, what is the greatest commandment? Some persons in the audience asked him that question. Of all the commandments, of all the dharmic orders, in other words. What is the greatest one? And Jesus is said to have replied, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might, and all thy mind. That's bhakti. But the process to do that was not very thoroughly given. And Jesus also told his followers, you should be in the world, but not of the world. This is bhakti. By rendering loving devotional service, you are no longer situated in the material dimension, even though physically you seem to be there. Of course, Jesus did not explain how to do this. As I often say, to live in the world, but not be of the world, this is high spiritual technology. This is the peak of mysticism. And indeed, that is what the bhakti mysticism accomplishes. When Krishna is asking Arjuna to fight in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Nusra Yudham Cha, fight and think of me, this is the topmost mysticism. You're fighting, but there is no reaction to what you're doing. There's no reaction to your work. Karma-free work. Not only that, not only is there no reaction, but you're trying to please me. You're rendering transcendental loving service. You have the spiritual world in such an effort. So we'll find the bhakti principle in all the genuine religious scriptures of the world, but you'll find only very brief mention. That's why there's confusion. What is religion? People think religion is a belief. Religion means doctrines or dogma or theology that you fight over. Or religion is something that you're born into. When actually, there's only one religion, that is rendering devotional service, loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, a Vaishnava who has at his or her fingertips immense knowledge about bhakti, especially as contained in Nectar, Devotion, Bhakti, Rasamrita Sindhu. The Vaishnava, the Krishna conscious person, can see bhakti in all the spiritual or religious efforts throughout the world. Therefore, we can say confidently, and it's not just a statement made lightly. We can confidently say that anyone who is following Nectar Devotion is the best Christian, is the best follower of Islam, the best follower of Judaism, because the essential principle of any real religion is bhakti, loving devotional service. It's just that in the bhakti texts, just as we sung, Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nikuno, the six Goswamis of Vrindavan compiled from all the Vedic knowledge the essence of the bhakti knowledge. They did that labor on your behalf. For Lokanam Hitakarano Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakura. They did that for the benefit of the whole world. So you have at your command the immense science of loving Krishna. Loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'll give you an example you might find interesting. When I was visiting, doing my annual 48-hour visit to my material relations in the USA. You know, I'm a sannyasi, so I don't stick around at home too much. Actually, I haven't really lived at home since I was 15 because I was always going away to school. So there was an illness in the family, and because the family is a very Christian family, they asked one of the staff from their church. Usually in Protestant churches, the staff includes persons who go from home to home, consoling the sick, and like that, praying for the sick. It's part of the mission work. So one of those persons came by while I was there, and there were about 20 of the family gathered, along with the very ill person, and I was there. And so the person from the church obviously knew about me, so when she kind of walked in, she was kind of looking at me, and I was looking at her. Like, oh, we have an unbeliever here. So the ill person was in the beginning phases of Alzheimer's disease. The memory was going. So the church lady, asked everyone, you make a prayer circle. That means you hold hands and you say a prayer. It's very nice. So she was praying, Heavenly Father, we know that you're going to heal this person. We know that you're going to bring his memory back. Went on and on like that. Just very enthusiastic, energetic. We know you're going to do this. We know you're going to do that. So afterwards, I said to my brother, I said, is this considered pure devotion that you're commanding? Oh God, we know that you're going to do what we want. So my brother, he didn't really know what to say. But I knew what to say because I gave him some of my Christian training from the early days. I said, whatever happened to Jesus saying, not my will, but thy will be done? What about that? He said, oh yeah, you got a point there. Before the crucifixion, when Jesus was killed on the cross, he was in the garden at night praying. And the Bible presents that his prayer was, he knew what was coming, and he was praying, Father, if possible, let this not happen. And then he corrected himself. No, not my will, but thy will be done. So that's pure bhakti. So my point is that if you understand nectar devotion, you can see what is real religion in all the religions of the world. So in that way, a devotee is simultaneously non-sectarian and sectarian. We are non-sectarian because we recognize the bhakti principle in all genuine religious scriptures and all genuine religious endeavors. But then again, we are sectarian because we know that there is no spiritual knowledge that compares to nectar devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So sometimes people get bewildered by that. They kind of say to you, make up your mind, are you sectarian or non-sectarian? Are you universalist or... We appreciate the devotion shown in all the religions of the world, but at the same time we know that no knowledge compares to what, for example, Rupa Goswami has given, in which the endeavor to love Krishna is so thoroughly analyzed, classified, categorized. Even so much as dealing with where does the devotion come from? It's the eternal characteristic of the soul. But it's dormant in us right now. So while it's dormant, what have we been doing? That's the question. If love for Krishna is eternally established in the heart of all living entities, well, what happened? The problem is contact with the Lord's illusory energy has made us mad. And how did that contact with the illusory energy start? By our own misuse of independence. We're always with Krishna. We can't get away from Krishna except in a dream. Just like if these little girls here, imagine that they have no parents and they can do whatever they like. Everyone would know that they've become deranged. They tell everyone, we're independent. We have no parents. We have no authorities we follow. We do whatever we like 24/7. Everyone would say they've lost it. It's obvious they have parents. The parents are right there. But maybe the little girls are just playing. They're lost in their play, or maybe they've lost their mind, and they just act like they have no parents. And everyone else can see this is ridiculous. Everyone else can see. These little girls are not paying the mortgage. They're not making the car payments. They're not putting food in the refrigerator. So we're like that with Krishna. We're always with Krishna. That's why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Mamayavamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. You living entities are eternally my fragmental parts. But because there's contact with the Lord's illusory energy, we've forgotten it all. That contact with the illusory energy comes from our misuse of independence. Then there's a whole complexity that we can go through. Why does Krishna give us independence? Right? Why doesn't he just force us to love him? Wouldn't that make bhakti easy, right? Oh, Krishna, force me to love you. I don't want to go through the stages of devotion, whether the first stages, the second, third stages. If you're really merciful, force me to love you. But as I always ask, how many of you want a relationship for yourself like that? In which your spouse, your partner, is forced to love you. No, you want to feel that the person acknowledges the benefits of being with you and involuntarily acts in the relationship. Whether the marriage was arranged or not, for example, still you want to feel the person is voluntarily choosing to contribute of his or her emotions, his or her activities. So you don't want forced love. That's my point. But you say that Krishna should have forced love? He's the supreme enjoyer. How can you be the supreme enjoyer and you're having forced love? Doesn't work. So we may feel from time to time, oh, Krishna, force me to love you. But Krishna already gave you independence. He doesn't suddenly yank it back. That independence is for our choosing, once again, to revive our dormant love for him. That's the best love, not forced love. So devotees often have a problem with this. Why do I have independence? Why do I have to go through this process of sadhana bhakti? As this chapter describes, sadhana bhakti has two divisions: following the rules and regulations as the way for motivating your service, and then there's spontaneous devotional service, where you do everything because you just love to. So you could say, why these stages? Just Krishna, just wave your magic wand and I'm in love with you again. The magic wand actually is there. It's the process of devotional service. That's why Nectar Devotion will very carefully describe all the 9 processes of devotional service and how to become expert at them. In this way, we stop misusing our independence and we cure the madness of our consciousness. What does Lord Rishabhdev say in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also quoted in this chapter? Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yad indriya pritya apranoti nasarumanye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada ashadeha. When the living entity contacts the material energy, living entity becomes mad, thinking, I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. And because of this madness, the living entity commits so many sinful activities and therefore suffers. So Lord Rishabhdev tells his sons, I don't think it's very intelligent. I don't consider it to be very intelligent. That's a nice way of saying, don't be stupid. Nasaru manye. I don't think it's very smart, you know. Yata atmanoya. That you again implicate yourself in activities that have already brought you so much suffering. So that is the misuse of independence. And then you have the activities of devotional service which cure that madness. This is what we want. We want to cure the madness. Because it's only out of that madness that we are attracted to karmic or fruitive activities. Only because of madness. So, generally speaking, everyone in material existence is mad because they think that they'll benefit from karmic activities, fulfilling their material desires, which can never be fulfilled. I was speaking about this at a program here in Sydney on Thursday night. Some of you who were there may remember. It is a myth that you can ever attain material satiation or satisfaction. You'll never be fully satisfied. That's impossible. But in your mind, in our mind, we long for that. We see it clearly. Full satisfaction, fulfillment, satiation through material activities. If I just keep trying harder with the right persons, with the right job, living in the right neighborhood, going to the right school, buying the right things, gradually there'll be some complete fulfillment and satiation for me. Impossible. The material energy never offers complete fulfillment and satisfaction. You just get a little glimpse, a little tiny, distorted reflection of satisfaction. So we're proceeding in material life just out of hope. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Asha Pasha Shatar Baddha. We're bound by a network of false hopes. We're not actually getting what we want, but in our mind, we anticipate, we hope. So, therefore, the Shastra explains that for the most part, material existence is lived through the mind. You imagine the fulfillment and satisfaction that you're going to get, whether in a few days, or in a few years, or when you retire, or when you this, when that. That's one major difference between India and the West. Of course, India is rapidly changing, but for so long, India has been the land of delayed gratification. You imagine how I'm going to be fulfilled 5 years or 10 years from now. Whereas, what is life in the West? You imagine how you're going to be fulfilled on the weekend. 5 years, 10 years, who can think that far? You know, I want a good weekend now. Of course, India is becoming like that also. I remember once I was doing a program in Mumbai at the Chowpatty Temple, and it was for outsiders or congregation that were just at the beginning, very beginning stages. So the title of the program I made was called Frustrated Love. So I came down for the program, and I was shocked to see so many news reporters and TV cameras. I asked the boys, what's going on? And they said that the news media in India got a hold of the topic, frustrated love, and they were thinking, is this the latest import from the West? We got to check it out. Frustrated love. We can't miss it. We've got to be there, you know. It could be the latest thing. So the media, I forget the name of the newspaper back then, they put it on the front page. Swami speaks about frustrated love. So, as we were saying, that's a main difference still there between India and the West. In the West, you cannot delay your gratification more than a few days. You have to know what you're going to be doing on this weekend and how you're going to be completely fulfilled and satisfied. Whereas India, first you finish school, then you get the job, then you buy a house, and then your parents arrange a marriage, and then you have children, and then you must become socially established, respect. So maybe when you're 55, 60, there's satisfaction. One devotee in India was explaining to me, because he had traveled around in various parts of the world. He said, you know, Maharaj, here's the difference between India and the West. In the West, you do whatever you want, you don't care what anyone thinks about it. In India, you always have to look around. What are they thinking? What opinions do they have of me? Who's thinking this? Who's thinking that? Whereas, you know, in Australia, you know, who cares, you know? It's your life, mate. So my point is that whether it's delayed gratification 20 years from now or delayed gratification 2 days from now for the weekend or whatever, is all mental. So this takes some bhakti knowledge to understand how the mind creates all these fantasies. It's madness. So how is that madness cured? Rupa Goswami in this chapter is introducing the spiritual technology, the applied spiritual technology for how the madness can be cured, and once again our dormant love for Krishna can be revived. So one last point. Usually, you'll find Srila Prabhupada explaining, usually, in order to render devotional service, you have to have done some devotional service in a previous lifetime. Children born in a family of devotees, you can be sure that they've done some devotional service in previous births. Did you know that? But it doesn't have to be that way. It can happen that someone who has no background in devotional service takes to the process. Why? This is because we're dealing with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful manifestation of Krishna, who is giving devotional service out, giving those opportunities out even to those who have no past history. Here's a beautiful example that Srila Prabhupada gave. And I think you can see this happen in Sydney. It happens all the time in New Zealand. That the sun is out, blue skies, and rain starts falling. Does it happen in Sydney? Yes. So you look in the sky and you're saying, there is no cause for this rain to fall, as far as you can see. We're not speaking scientifically, but as far as your ordinary vision sees, the sky is blue, the sun is out, and rain is coming. In some places in the world, this is called a sun shower. They call it that here? Yes. So, Mahaprabhu's mercy is like that. Normally, for there to be rain, there should be clouds, rain clouds in the sky. There should be a prior cause to your reviving your devotional service and your rendering service to Krishna. Should be a prior cause. But because we're dealing with Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, even there's no prior cause. There are no rain clouds in the sky. Everything is bright blue and sunny. Still rain comes. In other words, still Lord Chaitanya's mercy flows. So someone can just start immediately reviving their dormant love for Krishna, quelling the madness of engagement in material activity. So that is a very important point for us to remember as we proceed deeper into nectar devotion. You're not only dealing with Krishna, you're dealing with Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Both are Swayam Bhagavan. As I always explain, some of you have heard before, Lord Chaitanya is not actually an avatar. He's avatari, just as Krishna is. They exist simultaneously as the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because we are serving Krishna through the mercy, the agency of Lord Chaitanya, even we may have no qualification, no prior history, still we can engage in Krishna's service. So should we take any questions, Ganesham? Govinda Prabhu? All right. All right. Any questions? Yes. I'm sorry, can you say?
Thank you very much for the wonderful class. It was so beautiful. My question is that we never forget Krishna and we always remember Krishna, but you said we only forget Krishna in the dream.
I said we're always with Krishna and never away from Krishna, but we're hallucinating that we're separate from Krishna. Actually, separation from Krishna is impossible. Everything is his energy and you are his part.
So even in the dream we are with Krishna.
The dream is Krishna's energy. Mama Maya Dharatyaya. This material energy, which is so difficult to overcome, it's mine. Krishna says, Mama Maya, it's my Maya. But you can easily overcome it if you do things my way. That's Krishna's statement. We're always Krishna's servants, but we've forgotten. So what's being revived in us is our consciousness that I am Krishna's servant and our ability to love Krishna purely. But that ability is always with us. But we're having a nightmare right now. The nightmare is our dream that we can satisfy ourselves materially. All you get is a little scrap of something called happiness, a little glimmer, a little distortion of reflected ray. And we get so, oh, I'm happy. Only Krishna can satisfy us fully. Anything else? Yes.
Could you please explain the differences between the Vaidhi Bhakti and Devamrita Bhakti in terms of maybe internally what's going on and also externally?
Suffice to say for now, because that's a big question. Suffice to say for now, what I said in the beginning is that there's devotional service performed under rules and regulations. That the rules and regulations are the motivating force. Just like when Prabhupada was asked to explain sadhana bhakti, particularly Vaidhi bhakti, he said, sadhana bhakti means you have to do it because I say. There it is in a nutshell. Whereas the other part of sadhana bhakti, as you've read in this chapter, no doubt, is spontaneous. I'm doing it because I want to do it. I love getting up in the morning and chanting Hare Krishna. Whereas the Vaidhi bhakti is, I'm getting up in the morning to chant because I have to. Otherwise, devotees will think I'm in Maya. I'm going to the temple because I have to. Otherwise, I'll lose my social standing in the community. But you have to start somewhere. But as the madness of material conditioning decreases, your spontaneousness in serving Krishna emerges. And you just love to engage in Krishna's service. Of course, you can go deeper into what Raganuga Bhakti is, but in this first chapter, in this chapter 2 of Nectar Devotion, that's the definition given. And we are studying chapter 2, so. Anything else? Yes.
Maharaj, you were explaining about how we want to feel acknowledged by that person that we love.
Mm.
So when we feel bliss or joyful, is that Krishna directly reciprocating with our devotional service, and therefore we can assume that that is a level of acknowledgement directly from him?
When we chant Hare Krishna in kirtan or japa, we are asking to engage in Krishna's service. So what you're looking for in terms of reciprocation is, where's the service? We're asking, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, please engage in your service. So then when the service comes, when the service opportunities appear, that's Krishna reciprocating. When you read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll read that all of Krishna's associates think that they are his servants. Even the gopis think we are his maidservants. And you'll also read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that all the incarnations of Godhead, whether Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, Varaha, Lakshman, they would all rather be devotees than incarnations. The conditioned soul wants to be God, but God wants to be a devotee and render devotional service. So all the incarnations of Godhead get that opportunity in Chaitanya Leela to be servants of Krishna. Anything else? Yes. Can you give me an example? Blame it on the bed, huh? Good. Vrata, the vow, gives you strength. Because our mind is still interfering, our material mind is still interfering with our propensity to serve Krishna. We have those ups and downs, those days of being up and being down. That's the mind. Just like the winter and summer seasons come and go, as Krishna explains in the Gita. Matra sparsha stukonteya, shitoshna sukadukata. Similarly, the mind, it's coming and going all the time. So if you allow your mind to interfere with your service, there'll be some problems. But if your intelligence rules the mind, then your intelligence tells the mind to shut up. So we get glimpses of spontaneous serving Krishna even in the beginning stages, but to be fully situated on the platform of loving to serve Krishna with all spontaneity, that will take some time. But you're getting glimpses. Very good. Yes. In other words, how do you know what's truly the little voice within? You need to have a big voice without. That means you need a guru. The spiritual master does the service of being the external representative of the Paramatma, the Super Soul. Otherwise, yes, we easily concoct many things. So we have the spiritual master and the Shastra. We have Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And we have the assembly of the Vaishnavas. So we have so many checks to help us not go off track. Guidance is the main wealth of bhakti. The more guidance you have, the more wealthy you are. Yes.
Thanks for the nice class. Is there any difference between devotional service and surrender?
Krishna asks you to engage in devotional service. When you do that, you're surrendering to Krishna. You're a family man. So when your children act in harmony with you, they are surrendering to you. They enjoy all the benefits, right? You just want cooperation from them, right? That's all Krishna wants. I think we're afraid of this word surrender, aren't we? It sounds like you're walking down a lonely street at 1 a.m. in the morning and some mugger jumps out from the shadows and says, surrender your wallet, surrender your purse. So we react that way when we hear Krishna say surrender. But it's like the most affectionate mother telling her little child who's crying, just come sit on my lap, surrender. That's what it's like. But we're paranoid. What will become of me if I'm not the controller and enjoyer? What will be the point of my life? And we already talked about how Krishna does not force you to love him. He's a supreme enjoyer. He doesn't want forced love. So he has this whole system for reviving your love for him, and you're doing that voluntarily. because that's the best love. Otherwise, what do you want out of Krishna? You want that he has a gun in his hand and says, come here, love me, be happy? Is that how you married? You had a gun in your hand and you told your fiancée, your prospective wife, we're going to be happy together? Surrender means cooperating with Krishna. All right. I thank you very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.